So on day 26 of the Larry Millete case out of Chula Vista, California, the defense gets its turn, call 3 witnesses, and then the defense rests. So let's get into what happened yesterday in court. The first 2 witnesses were a husband and wife team named Stacy and Steve Agan, A-G-A-N. They are canine handlers and they are volunteers for the San Diego County Sheriff's Department Search and Rescue Group. Their main focus is typically they're called in when hikers go missing, and their role is to go and find the hikers, right? That's usually what they do. I think the defense is, the headline is, cadaver dogs fail to find cadaver, right? Because they believe that if these investigators, if the police called these dogs in to search for scents of a dead body in the home, and they didn't find any scents of a dead body in the home, then Larry must not have killed Maya, right? Like that's their defense. But we learned a little bit more about these dogs. The dogs' names are BJ and Kona, and they serve a very good purpose, right? Canine search and rescue dogs are fantastic. We're learning that after the earthquake in Venezuela, that dog has found more people. It's shocking how good these dogs can be. But these dogs were called to the scene by police. Search conducted was for human remains, and it was on January 23rd of 2021. While they were there, they searched the home, the garage, the backyard, and Larry's Lexus SUV. Now, the evidence of the Lexus search or any conversation about the Lexus search was not allowed to come into court. I'm going to explain why in a minute. But they searched all of these areas, and the dogs did not detect any human remains or bodily fluids that would come from decomposition. So that is what the defense is saying. There is no way that a murder took place in this home, in the garage, in the backyard, or in the SUV. Like there was no dead body anywhere because the dogs didn't smell it. But on cross-examination, we learned a little bit more about these dogs. Turns out BJ and Kona are not trained or certified to find lingering scents of dead bodies. They are only trained to find physical remains. So even if they picked up a scent of something else, they're not trained to notify on that scent. Before the jury came into the room, they did what I'm thinking might have been like a voir dire, and I'm gonna show you in a minute, but it sounds like they put Stacy Agan into the room to talk about what her testimony was going to be up on the stand. And this is from NBC7 San Diego. This is on their website. There was a pretrial. This sounds to me like a voir dire, where the prosecution, defense, and even the judge questioned Stacy Agan about what she would be testifying to. During that hearing, it was revealed the canine handlers told investigators they didn't want to search the home or the SUV. Again, this is not typically what they're called to do. They're typically called to go out onto hiking trails and find missing hikers. They're not part of murder scenes. That is because the dogs were not trained to detect any lingering odors from where a decomposing body had been, and they were only used to find actual physical remains. Sounds like Stacy and Steve on the day of the search were like, whoa, 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 whoa. This isn't our area of expertise. But they were asked to search anyway. And when the dogs didn't turn up anything, the investigators were like, okay, but now the defense is like, aha, you didn't find anything. The judge, you see down at the bottom, you can pause to read, but the judge prevented any questions about the SUV. Basically, the jury did not hear at all that these dogs searched the SUV. And by the way, this was January 23rd. By now, I told you in earlier videos, Larry had already taken his car to the car wash 7 times, according to financial records. So the dogs were never certified to conduct searches of vehicles. So the accuracy of the searches wouldn't be allowed as evidence that Maya's body was either in or was not in the SUV. The judge tossed everything about the SUV. And I can understand the frustration that Stacy and Steve Agan might feel, because people would think, well, the dogs didn't smell anything. And they're like, but that's not what my dog is trained to do. And so you're not giving the dogs the credit where the credit is due for all the good work they do. You're just throwing them under the bus because they didn't find what you thought they would find, and they weren't certified to find that thing in the first place. But I'd like to take a moment to thank BJ and Kona for their service, because I'm sure they have done a lot of very, very good work in their lifetimes. Next witness is Riley Mallory. Riley Mallory is a private investigator with the San Diego County Public Defender's Office. So he does investigations strictly for the public defenders to help them defend clients. What Mallory is trying to prove is that there are multiple pathways leading away from the Millete home that Maya could have taken. So if she wanted to leave, she could have done so under her own willpower, because there were multiple ways she could have left without being detected by any of the neighborhood surveillance cameras. That's what his dozens of exhibits were all the different camera angles throughout the neighborhood. So like if you walk this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, and he was basically pointing out all the blind spots of here's all the ways that someone could avoid all of this surveillance coverage if they really wanted to sort of sneak out. But also, they're saying someone else could have snuck in. There was other ways that people could have come into the home and not been detected. So someone could have come into the home undetected and done harm to Maya. Here's a photo. Again, this is provided by NBC7, but you see the red line. You see the red line is where he's saying there's a drainage ditch. So there's a drainage ditch that runs along the length of the back of the home. So you have the homes, you have the backyards, they have the fences, and then there's like this gully, and it's a drainage ditch that runs the length of several homes. What was presented in court was that Maya used a small wall to climb on top of an outdoor fireplace stove, which helped her get over a fence, then down into the drainage ditch, which leads her to a hiking trail that flowed out of the neighborhood. That is from NBC7 San Diego. Now, photos were shown of the many other potential pathways that Maya could have taken out. Yeah. So sure, I guess if Maya was trying hard enough to be undetected and left with no money, no driver's license, no credit card, without saying goodbye to anybody, without any plans, she just wandered off on her own, I guess this is a really good defense. On cross-examination, they did talk a little bit about how long it took to collect all this evidence. So this evidence, all these camera angles and this entire photo array took place 2 years after Maya's disappearance. And just the thought of that. People change the angles of their Ring cameras. What about trees that have grown? Was it the same time of year where there are leaves on the trees? Like the angles that you can see, the blind spots will change dramatically over a course of 2 years. There could be changes in lighting conditions. Do we know that it was the exact same lighting and you wouldn't see the same shadows and the same variances? So anyway, he was unable to verify on cross-examination that all of his exhibits were the exact same environment that existed the day that Maya went missing, that it could have changed dramatically over those 2 years. And then the defense rested. Now, they're going to be back on Tuesday to do jury instruction and closing arguments, and then the jury will start deliberating, hopefully sometime on Tuesday. Just as a side note, NBC7, along with a coalition of media outlets, did send the court a letter asking the judge to reconsider cameras in the courtroom during closing arguments and the reading of the verdict. The judge denied this, although he does find there to be value in having the press, and he's appreciative that the press has followed his order so far. He is not going to change the order, and he will not allow cameras in the courtroom for either the closing arguments or the reading of the verdict. Come back on Tuesday for more. It's going to be a very long weekend.